Scripture, folks, this morning comes from Joshua, chapter 24, verse 15. If it is disagreeable in your sight to serve the Lord, choose for yourself today whom you will serve, whether the gods which our fathers served, which were beyond the river, or the gods of the Amorites, in whose land you are living today. But as for me and my house, we will serve the Lord. Amen.
Good morning. Some of you are looking at me like deer in the headlights. Maybe that's me, I don't know. And I looked around and said, I'm always humbled by the things that God allows me to do. So I want to keep things in perspective. I want to be the same standing right here as I am when I'm standing in there, as I am when I'm back to the teams. It is an honor and privilege to come up here and speak to you guys. I couldn't have asked for two better mentors in my life. If I want something factual and to the point, I call Alan. If I want a hug and some understanding and compassion, especially the hug, I call Travis. But in that, they both have different approaches on how they deliver things and how they talk. And I find myself going through this process and comparing myself to both of them. And I've had opportunities to speak other places, and so I've talked to them and got their input on how they prepare, what they look at, what they do. And both of them are completely different. And both of them, their heart is there. And that's things that they keep. So I kind of leaned towards Travis' way of doing things for a while, and then I heard about the lectionary, and it's kind of, they have a verse every week, and it builds off of the last week, and it goes through us. Most pastors today, most churches that do that, this is what they're talking about. So I said, all right, I'll do that. And then I looked at it. So let me just preface this by, I am not mad at anybody. Man, I'm trying to, I was like, well, maybe I could do that next time. God, we need to work on something else and see what this software is doing. But I didn't want to step away from it because it's a hard teaching. I didn't want fear of coming in here and giving a hard teaching to keep me from not looking at it. And so I pushed through and spoke with both of them periodically. And I know you guys don't mind the truth. Amen. And these are things that Jesus said. So it's not like I'm making it up and coming up here and saying, well, he said this, because this is what he said. And it starts out in Luke 12:49-56. Jesus said, I came to bring fire through the earth, and how I wish it was already kindled. I have a baptism which wish to be baptized, and what stress I am under until it is completed. Do you think that I have come to bring peace to the earth? No, I tell you, but rather divisions. From now on, 5 in one household will be divided, 3 against 2, and 2 against 3. They would have divided father against son, and son against father, mother against daughter, and daughter against mother, mother-in-law against her daughter-in-law, and her daughter-in-law against her mother-in-law. He also said to the crowds, when you see the clouds rising in the west, you immediately say, it's going to rain. And so it happens. And when you see the south wind blowing, you say there will be scorching heat. And it happens. You hypocrites. You know how to interpret the appearances of the earth and the sky. But why do you not know how to interpret the present time? So when I read that, I said, really? Really? But I said, all right, God, 3 times. Jesus, and we've talked about, me and Alan have talked about it more recently, about Luke 9, Jesus sets his face towards Jerusalem. He's looking at what he's getting ready to go through. And he's trying to explain these things to the disciples, and he's trying to talk to the crowds, and it's almost like his posture changed. When you fix your eyes on something, when you know what's about to happen, your posture will change. And so he fixes his eyes on Jerusalem and what's getting ready to happen. Even to the point that some of these things that were said prior to this, he tells the disciples to fear not, my little lambs. Then he says, stand firm. And then he drops this on them. So where Peter, in another teaching prior to this one and prior to the other one, he responds to this question, and he's like, are you talking to us or them? Almost like he's saying, are you talking to me? Right? Is this so much so that, because these things are hard to hear, difficult to hear, and they don't understand what's about to happen. I mean, we're going to keep hearing that. If we would keep reading, he keeps telling them, look, I'm not going to be here. This isn't the way it's going to happen. And they have these grandiose ideas on what this transition of kingdoms is supposed to look like. And they just can't grasp he's going to be gone. He says, fire, I'm going to bring down fire to the earth. Fire can mean destruction. And we also cannot forget that fire is a symbol of purification. Now, there's a lot of different ways. When you look at the scripture, I could probably go down a rabbit hole on talking about just that. And I was like, God, is that what we're looking at today? Something he wanted me to focus on is the baptism. It's not what we just witnessed. The baptism that he is talking about is not what we just witnessed. That was a celebration. That was an enjoyable thing. You know, they went through their things to get there. But it was an enjoyable moment. We celebrated their dedication to Christ, their intention to follow him the rest of their life. That's a great thing. The baptism that Jesus is referring to here is his coming crucifixion. This is what he's talking about. He said, and what stress I'm under until it is complete. You know, up until this point, we're starting to see that Jesus is wept, and now he's stressed. And if we keep reading in Luke, I believe it's in Luke, if we keep reading, he's stressed so much. He's anguished so much in prayer that he's sweating blood. And this is where I kind of may go back and forth. And I was talking to somebody the other day, and we were talking about him as a man. And I said something, and I said, man, it was probably easier for him to do that, or he was fully man. And sometimes I forget that part. I mean, I don't do it on purpose, but sometimes it's like fully God, fully man. He was fully man. He wept. He had trouble. He was stressed. He was angry. His coming crucifixion, he would face both physical pain and spiritual pain of complete separation from the Father. Up until now, he's never been separated from the Father. Now, some of us have lived separated from the Father, and we know that is a loneliness like no other. But we chose to live that way. He's choosing to do that for us. We deserve that separation. He knows that's the only way that this victory is going to be fulfilled. Is by allowing himself to be physically abused, physically beaten, physically killed, and separated from his Father. He recognizes his stress and shows his natural desire to have this over and done. I wish it was already so. He even prayed and asked if there's any other way. But ultimately he says, look, I'm not. He is fully aware about what he's going to face. And he's trying to get that across. But I think in that, he's showing the disciples, I'm going through stress as well. And he's getting ready to tell them that you're going to have some too. Do you think that I've come to bring peace to the earth? No, I tell you, division. Division. Now, I've caused some division in my family. Quite a bit. Because of the school, because of the churches, of public places. So much so that I even took stands. This is the way I am. Love it or leave it. And it was for the wrong things. Every time. And that's not the division that he's talking about. Some of us are familiar with that. We've drawn a line in the sand and lost family members because we were too stubborn and too selfish to remove that line. But we did it for other things. So this is not the division he's talking about. You know, part of my assignment was reading the whole Bible and writing a paper on each book. And it was forced me to go through the Bible again. And I had this idea, and this was 7 years ago when I started. And I had this Old Testament God and New Testament God. New Testament God was loving, Old Testament God was mean, and he wanted to strike you down. And I didn't understand it. And so in the assignment, the teacher said, I need you to find Jesus all the way through the Bible. Okay. After I did that, and after I read the Old Testament, I realized that every prophet had the same message. Turn to me, repent, come back. Return to me, repent, come back. And I so much so that I now see God on his knees. And I know that this may sound sacrilegious to some, but I can see him on his knees begging us. Repent, turn to me, come back. Not out of need. He's not begging us out of a need of his own, but he's begging us out of his love for us. And that makes the New Testament. Hey. Even better. And once I realized that and seeing this, I really believe that Jesus is imploring his disciples. This is what it looks like, guys. This is the only way it looks. This is what happens. He's imploring us to make a stand. Now, just a little bit ago, he said, don't be afraid. Okay? We can't forget that there's things going on. Don't be afraid. Stand firm. Now that you're standing firm, there's going to be division. But the whole time, he's leading by example. He's still headed to Jerusalem. He knows what's there. This division I think the reason he's bringing it up in this way, in this time, is because he knows the possibilities of what to do to us. Family, And here's the thing. He knows what he's about to face. He would like to go through something else. But God and Jesus, their desire is not that anyone should perish. And we're told that it's not his desire that anybody perish. And a lot of times we say things like, because it's such a loving God, why would he say that he does not? He doesn't. It's the choice. It's the choice that he's putting out on the table right now. He's telling us to take a stand. You're going to lose family members. This decision it's going to be caused solely on the fact that we believe. That's it. The division is caused by one thing, and it's the fact that we take a stand. I believe. It's got nothing to do with how we treat it. This should in no way affect or be a reflection of our actions towards that person. Standing firm in our beliefs, trusting in Him, which is described earlier in this chapter, God does not need us to fight for Him. I hear all the time, we've got to do this, they're taking this out of that, they want to remove this from there, and I don't use specific words because I hate getting into discussions. I hate it because it leaves room for somebody to tell me their opinion, and I'm not asking your opinion, and I'm not trying to say that in a rude way, but this takes opinion out. God does not need me to fight for Him to keep anything anywhere, except for in my heart. And He doesn't even want me to fight my Father that's there. He wants me to make a decision and continue to love them right where they are. Loving others just the way I've been loving others. The only difference, the only line, they're driving the line, I'm not. I'm going to go up to it as close as I can without offending them and love them. I'm not going to cross it. Out of respect. I mean, there's other areas. The Scripture tells us how we're supposed to treat people. If they don't eat meat, don't eat meat in front of them. If they don't do this, don't do that in front of them. It's pretty crystal clear that we're supposed to be mindful. We're not supposed to fight for them. This shouldn't cause us to react. We continue to respond and love. And I know that I spend some time with some teens, and some of them don't believe. And I don't know, some of them don't believe, and some of them haven't told their parents. And I'm not trying to put them on blast. I'm not trying to put you on. With the conversations that I have, here's the thing that I do know about them. There's a young lady back there that doesn't believe in God. She doesn't know what she believes because she thinks she believes only because her parents. This is what she's been taught. And she's at that place where she's finding out on her own. And she needs to be able to go through that, because I know if I put myself at her age, I was lost. I wouldn't even try to figure it out. At least she's wrestling with God. And I know that in every parent's heart that's a believer, I know that in every parent's heart that believes in God, your desire is pure and wanting your child to have a relationship with God. But we need to allow them to go through that. We need to love them where they're at. Just along with every other non-believer. Because if we force it on them and push it on them, I know from experience, I'm going to go. I don't need this. And that little girl came to me and she said, I think they didn't respond well. I said, I'm sorry, sweetheart, but let me tell you one thing. Your parents love you. This is not they may not know how to show you this, they may not know how to tell you, but this is not a selfish act. This comes from a place of love and concern for your well-being. So it's not. And when she heard that, and And then I reminded her that I loved her and we could walk through this. It doesn't have to be a crisis. It doesn't have to cause more chaos. But she can walk through it as long as it takes. And I'm willing to sit there and drink coffee and buy her frappuccinos and go through it with her. And it'll be okay. But your parents do know. It's not they're trying to force you to do something that will ruin the rest of your life. And walking with her has made me realize not only do I need to treat her that way, I need to treat every non-believer that way. Because this division is too common in society. So he also says to the crowds, when you see a cloud rising in the west, you immediately say, it's going to rain. And so it happens. And when you see the south wind blowing, you say, there will be scorching heat. And it happens. You hypocrites. You know how to interpret the appearance of the earth and the sky, but you do not know how to interpret the present time. There isn't a day that goes by that I don't pick up my phone, turn on the TV, or go outside, and the world is trying to divide. I'm a 48-year-old white man, bald. I'm not going to say anything about you guys because I'm just going to point out what I am. And those of you that aren't like me are not. But they're going to point it out. The world is going to point it out and tell me why I shouldn't be this, why I shouldn't be that, why I should be proud of something I have no control over being proud of. And it makes me better than you, or worse than you, or different than you. And God says, you're all my children, I love you all. And the world will point out another flaw, or another difference, or where I live, or where I don't live, or what I drive, or what I don't drive. And they try to get me to focus on that stuff. So they can divide us, cause division. I hate those conversations. I hate when other people have them, and I hate being drawn into them. And it doesn't serve any good. Makes me not love you. Makes you not love me. It's not what he wants. It's not what he desires. Are we focusing on worldly things? Or are we focusing on the kingdom? Jesus is trying to bring us together, the world trying to tear us apart. Seek ye first the kingdom of God. We just talked Wednesday night about where your treasure is. There your heart is also. Jesus wants to be your treasure. He wants to be in your heart. The kingdom should be in your heart. And a reflection of that should be how you treat people through that division. I'm not a doom and gloom type of person, so I've read it and me and some people have argued about it. Sometimes I argue with them just because it's funny, but I may be in my last days right now. And so those things that are talked about in the last days apply to me. He's asking us to stand firm, to trust in him, to be ready. He's still saying, love God and love others while we're doing these things. The things that were going on around him at the time is his enemies were sneaking up on him, and they were closing in on him, and they were getting closer, and they were trying to find ways to trap him. There's things that are going on around us that we don't see that are doing the same things. The world's view on things always brings attention to our differences. So standing firm does not negate the command to love others. The division that is being warned about does not give us the right or the freedom to condemn those who choose otherwise. We do not, I'm going to say that again. The division that is being warned about does not give us the right or the freedom to condemn those who choose other than we do.
Correct.
We can go back to the fire on that. Jesus says he's bringing the fire. Why? Because he's going to purify us. But he's also the only one that can do it justly. Just like he called them hypocrites. He's the only one that even can say that. Just because Jesus called them a name doesn't give us the freedom to call them names. I used to look for those loopholes all the time. Jesus did it. Jesus flipped over some David. And then my dad would say, and he also died on the cross. This is directed to each one of us individually. Will we choose to follow his unselfish love, or will we choose to follow our selfish motives and desires? You know, I wanted to back away from this lesson. After talking about it for 2 services, I'm glad I did. He wants us to stand firm, choose him, and love the world.
Amen.
Dear Heavenly Father, we thank you so much for every person represented here, every family represented here today. Lord, you know our hearts. Search them. Show us what we need to correct. Let us be open to that. Lord, give us the strength to stand firm in you and nothing else. Everything else will take care of itself. Continue to do what you have in mind with this place and these people who love it. And I thank you so much for letting me be a part of this. Amen.
Amen.